It's Checkpoint on ENCA and ETV. I'm Nkepile Mabuse. Our focus this week.
It's like a Bible and the biblical teachings are now turned into a whip.
The Bible versus the Constitution.
I asked the chairperson of Timber Trust, but why is it a problem now that I'm pregnant? And then she told me, yeah, it is a problem because you're not married.
This employer feels justified to suspend staff based on scripture.
Pregnancy is evidence of her engaging in sexual activity outside of marriage.
Some of her employees believe she's using the Bible as a tool to get out of paying them.
There are some salaries that she didn't pay me that I'm still owed by Timber.
A truly bizarre story on the other side of this. Majority of South Africans are raised in Christian households and encouraged to obey biblical principles. But ours is a secular democracy, and in 1996, the Constitution became the supreme law of the land. For some reason, this does not seem to have filtered down to the little-known town of Dirkiesdorp in Mpumalanga, where the chairperson of the Timber Trust is accused of using the Bible to discriminate against employees. Harry Viti and Tabudlamini recently traveled there to speak to staff suspended, apparently, for living in sin.
Some 47 kilometers outside Piet Retief in Mpumalanga lies the docile town of Dirkiesdorp. Besides the occasional herd of cattle crossing the road, its pastoral character suggests little other economic activity. For nearly 4 decades, an NGO by the name Timber Trust has been a critical source of much-needed employment.
The Timber Trust is an independent non-profit organization that was formed in 1983 by an uncle of mine. His name was Pastor Stilfried Niebuhr. And he was a missionary of the Lutheran Church mission in Germany.
Timber Trust owns a number of vast pieces of land in Dirkiesdorp, including Vergelegen Farm, on which the Sinetemba Secondary School is located. Previously a private agricultural school run by the Timber Trust, the institution has since been taken over by the Department of Education, which leases the school buildings from the Timber Trust. Timber Trust manages the hostel facilities where some Sinetemba learners board during the school term.
As the chairperson of the organization, I have to maintain and uphold the values of that particular organization, so that it is in alignment with what this particular understanding of the Bible represents.
Joseph Matu started working for Timber Trust in 2008.
I was later promoted to be a hostel superintendent in charge of the boys and the girls hostel. That's in 2011. In 2018, around September, there was a failure to pay salaries. And that planted discontentment amongst the workers.
Matu says for 2 years now, hostel employees have endured sporadic payment of their salaries, which led to a strike on the 3rd of February this year.
You came to a situation where she who is used to asking questions and demanding answers is now being asked questions to which she was unable to provide answers. That is a very uncomfortable situation for any leader.
It is then that Matu says Niebuhr turned the Bible into a strategic weapon against him and a select few of his colleagues.
It's like a Bible and the biblical teachings are now turned into a whip that somebody is using to whip other people.
Nokutula Nkosi has been a matron at the hostel since 2008. She reports to Matu in his capacity as hostel superintendent.
In 2008, I fell pregnant with my first child. I was the matron at that time of the girls. I reported the matter to the HR as usual, and then I went on maternity leave. I came back, I continued working normally. So up until 2019, then I fell pregnant again. I reported the matter of me being pregnant to the HR officer in January when we reopened.
In May, Nkosi says she was on the receiving end of a shocking phone call.
On the 15th, I got the call from the chairperson of Timber Trust, which is Ms. Reinhild Nibo, telling me that she's very much disappointed in me because I didn't have the courage to tell her that I am pregnant. I asked the chairperson of Timber Trust, but why? Is it a problem now that I'm pregnant? And then she told me, yeah, it is a problem because you're not married. You were not supposed to continue working with the hostel children when you're not married and then getting pregnant because you are not painting the right picture into the children. You are not being a good role model to them. I said, but I didn't know about that. And then she told me, but the policies and the rules of Timber Trust are saying that you are not supposed to get pregnant while you are not married. I said, but where are those? I never saw them. I don't know anything about them. I started getting the high blood pressure, being sick after the call and the SMS that she sent after the call.
In the SMS referring to Nkosi's pregnancy, Nibo says this is sadly grounds for immediate dismissal. Please call me to let me know if you rather want to resign today or if I must start disciplinary proceedings against you.
She wrote that my pregnancy is the evidence of sex outside of marriage.
Nkosi was served with a notice to attend a disciplinary inquiry on the 22nd of May with charges alleging misconduct and grave dereliction of duty and evidence of complete incompetence to fulfill the role of hostel matron.
So, I was thinking about this thing all the time, even when I was in hospital after I gave birth. I was thinking about it. Am I losing my job? What is happening? So I wasn't feeling well. So that is how I ended up again being readmitted to the hospital after I gave birth. I got help from a colleague, Mr. Joseph Matu, because he also got the notice. And the notice, it's because of me. If you read to it, it's because of the pregnancy. So the pregnancy, it is me who got pregnant. So then he came to me to assist me to say, let's go to CCMA to report the matter.
The CCMA ruled in Nkosi's favor on the 23rd of July. Meanwhile, on his return from lockdown on the 11th of May, Matu says he sent an SMS to Nibo communicating the concerns of workers relating to their UIF and salary payments.
In response, she said that she was very disappointed with the manner in which the pregnancy was handled. I never informed her of that pregnancy. And I quickly said, ma'am, this matter was reported to the human resource manager and it was dealt also with by the management. Secondly, Mr. Matu, I'm also disappointed with you. Are you married? I said, no. How old is your child? I said, my child is turning 6. By that time, she was not yet 6. Did you marry the mother of your child? I said, no. I'm afraid you're not a good role model to the children. Then I asked her, did I commit a crime to have a child? I did what I was supposed to do by my in-laws, and we are all at peace. Do you have a marriage certificate? Then I said, no. Do you intend to marry the mother of your child? I said, no. At least not now. Then she said, I'm afraid you're not a good role model, and this is ground for suspension. and a possible disciplinary hearing.
Matu says Nebo gave him 1 day to resign and also required that he vacate the Timber Trust accommodation where he resides in his capacity as hostel superintendent. He rejected both directives.
I also responded that that's fine, please furnish me with my employment contract and our code of conduct, because I needed to know, did I in any way fail to do what I was expected to do? Secondly, I needed to know whether pregnancy had a particular sanction here at Timber Trust. I must say that throughout my stay here, I have not come across any policy that talks to pregnancy, that talks to marital status of workers. Regarding employment contracts, we don't have employment contracts. So I was a bit disturbed. So I wait for those requested documents, my employment contract and a code of conduct.
The one you never signed because it doesn't exist.
I knew it never existed. I wanted her to come to her senses, but she never did.
On the 21st of May, Matu also received a notice to attend a hearing.
So on the notice, she alleges that I failed to uphold the values and policies of Timber Trust, specifically the biblical teachings against sexual intercourse before marriage.
A day later, on the 22nd of May, Matu opened a case of unfair labour practice at the CCMA and is still awaiting arbitration. After receiving notice of Matu's case at the CCMA, Nebo sent him this text saying, "But surely you must have known that there would be consequences to allowing a single, pregnant woman to represent the organisation as a role model for teenage girls in the Timber Trust hostel."
I'm a Christian, and I don't want to appear as if I'm not a Christian, but this is a workplace.
Nkosi is convinced money is at the heart of all this.
There are some salaries that she didn't pay me that I'm still owed by Timber. Up until now, there's nothing.
When we went into 2019, there was no payment of salaries in January, in February, in March, in April. Workers only got paid in May, June, July, half their salaries in August, and 1,000 rand for September, October, and December.
Coming up, marriage imposed as a job requirement.
Ukuthi if usafuna ukuqhubeka usebenza eTimber Trust, kuzomela umnikeze idate yomshado ukuthi ushada nini, and umveze leyo muntu lo ozoshada nayo okunga umthetho waseThemba kahle kahle.
While on a mission to ensure that Timber Trust is in biblical order, Nebo included marriage as an employment prerequisite. This had an impact on all unmarried employees, including Thandazile Tela.
So asitshele kona wathi sekane staff enough ehostel, and ehostel esedinga abantu abashadile. Ku-interview azange bangitshela ukuthi kudingeka umuntu oshadile. Azange bangitshela ukuthi noma ngingangena ngashadile kumele ngibe nesikhathi bese emva kwesikhathi ngitholakala ukuthi sengishadile. Eqinisweni nje liphelele angikho happy, because ngokwami ukwazi noma ngokwami ukucabanga umshado uyisipho esivela kuNkulunkulu, angeke uvele uforced. So ngibona angathi nginoku-undermineka okanye ukucwaseka ukuthi kuthiwa angeke ngikwazi ukwenza umsebenzi lo ngoba nakho angishadile. If usafuna ukuqhubeka usebenza eTimber Trust, kuzomela umnikeze idate yomshado ukuthi ushada nini, and umveze leyo muntu lo ozoshada nayo okunga umthetho waseThemba kahle kahle.
I would call it what it is, discriminating against the workers at the hostel on marital status.
Cabanga ukuthi indlela bekafuna ukusixosha ngayo, and afuna ukuthi sidikile sithi vele asisabuye emsebenzini.
Next, the chairperson of the Timber Trust in the hot seat.
The matter will be decided on in the legal institutions that have the right to make an opinion about it, and not by a journalist.
Checkpoint questioned Timber Trust Chairperson Reinhild Nebo about why Nokuthula Nkosi was suspended.
Pregnancy is evidence of her engaging in sexual activity outside of marriage. That's it.
She does not believe that my husband even got married to me. So I don't understand what's that, because customary law, I'm married.
If I can have a confirmation from a cultural institution that she ascribes to, and I would not know which one it would be. If it is it King Goodwill's Veletini? What is the cultural institution?
But if you would not know then where to confirm this, then you can't sit before us and say it's not confirmed.
It has not been. No, I can.
Nebo refutes the allegation that unmarried employees are ostracized by her.
Joseph Matu says that you called him when this situation with Nkosi came up, and you said to him that you were disappointed in him because he has a 6-year-old child and he still hasn't married the mother. Did you say that to him?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what business is that of yours?
He did not communicate it.
So
there is a matter of integrity. He should have communicated it. It's a matter of integrity. He was hiding the fact that he was having an extramarital sexual relationship with the person while in employment of the organization that is trying to teach respect of marriage.
All this prodding in employees' personal lives, yet the organization doesn't even have a code of conduct or employment contracts.
The 10 Commandments are the basis of the values.
If you are going to have something like the 10 Commandments as the rules of your organization, some of those commandments are going to have a discriminatory effect. And if it's discriminatory, then you are infringing on people's rights.
Nowhere in this list of Timber Trust values is any reference made to fornication, pregnancy, or marriage. After taking her matter to the CCMA on the 23rd of July, the Commission ruled in Nkosi's favor. She was to report for work on the 3rd of August, but Nebo is unwilling to comply.
The CCMA made an award which is under question.
It's under question by you.
Yes, of
but
course.
It's not under question by the law because you have no code of conduct.
No, you can't say that. You don't know that. You are not the law. The Labour Court has to decide on this.
The law is clear. The CCMA has decided.
No.
Well, already it's clear. Let's agree on this.
Procedurally, I think that you are working on extremely thin ground.
Procedurally?
Completely thin ground.
Where?
And I believe that it probably is better that we do not continue this process.
We're perfectly fine with that. Because at the end of the day, what is clear here in your own words is that procedurally, the systems at Timber Trust are not in place, according to your own words.
Consequences for not complying with the CCMA order can include jail time, says Commissioner Laurie Warwick.
Marital status is a listed ground for unfair discrimination.
Presumably referring to Nkosi and Matu's alleged misconduct, in her submission to the CCMA, Nebo says this section in the Bible instructs followers of Jesus Christ on how to handle a situation of sexual misconduct within their circles, and quotes a verse.
Could you just read that Bible verse for us and explain it?
I feel a little uncomfortable.
Nebo declined, and then, after seeking legal advice, she accused us of trying to railroad her.
You tried to hijack me, you tried to blindside me. Yes, you did.
How so?
By giving the document to me.
This, according to Nkosi and Matu, is what the specific scripture says.
That you should not associate with people who sin sexually.
But even people who cheat, people who are greedy, people who are dishonest, people who insult others are condemned in this scripture. Now, if you don't pay people, having received money to pay them, you're one of the people this scripture is talking about.
According to the Labour Department, Nebo owes staff over 2 million rand. We asked her if she is using the Bible to get rid of employees and avoid paying them.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I'm not at all trying to get rid of them.
But it is legally wrong to suspend someone on the basis of pregnancy and on extramarital affairs, especially if you don't have it in a code of conduct.
No, it is most certainly legally wrong to suspend somebody on the basis of pregnancy, absolutely, and that is not what the Timber Trust is doing.
In her submission to the CCMA, Nibu pleaded poverty. But the Department of Education confirmed to Checkpoint that the trust received over 800,000 rand last year.
When she received that kind of money, I remember vividly, she wanted only to pay us for 2 months.
Nibu says the money was used elsewhere.
Of course, as the building owners, the maintenance of the school building also needs to be covered out of that.
These are the Timber Trust hostels. It does not appear as though much money has been spent on maintenance since 1983, when they were presumably built. The Education Department says the institution was expected to submit its tax compliance certificate in order to be allocated money for the current financial year, but that Timber Trust failed to do so. Nibu is supposed to run Timber Trust affairs with the board, but despite her repeated references to integrity, she refused to answer Checkpoint's questions pertaining to the trust.
May I ask that we park this line of query?
With regards to the trust?
With regards to the trust, because I don't see what bearing it has on this particular question while you are interviewing me.
We called trustee Dumisani Kunene to ask if the board took the decision to suspend Nkosi.
I think the correct person to address that issue to is the lady who is doing management there.
Who is the lady doing management there?
It's what's her name? We haven't been meeting for quite some time.
So you're talking about Reinhild Nibu? Nibu insists that Nkosi and Matu are in the wrong, and if necessary, she will take this fight all the way to the Constitutional Court.
The matter will be decided on in the legal institutions that have the right to make an opinion about it, and not by a journalist.
I'll be quite surprised, even shocked, if the organization is going to win this in the legal realm, because the case is extremely weak.
Who would have thought in 2020 we'd be broadcasting a story of this nature? Ironically, the Bible itself encourages its readers to respect their country's laws. We'd like to encourage Nibu and those of similar thinking to turn to Romans 13, which in part reads, "Those who refuse to obey the law of the land are refusing to obey God, and punishment will follow." Thanks for watching Checkpoint. I'm Ngepile Mabuse.